Hello everybody, welcome to the Charles Kovess interview show, where my guest today is the wonderful Michael Gaeta. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Charles. Good to be here.
So let me read from Michael's bio, because it's a very impressive bio, and I want you all to understand the depth of experience of Dr. Michael Gaeta, whose purpose is to co-create a world of vital, resilient people who choose a lifestyle of, quote, nature first, drugs last. To accomplish this, Michael treats patients with Chinese and functional medicine and helps natural health professionals upgrade their patient care and practice success. His teaching is informed by 36 years of successful clinical practice. Michael Gaeta holds licenses in acupuncture, dietetics, nutrition, and massage therapy. He's also an herbalist and a doctor of acupuncture in Rhode Island. He earned his Master of Science degree in acupuncture from the New York College of Health Professions, where he was a faculty member for 10 years. He holds additional degrees in massage therapy, Asian bodywork therapy, and health sciences. Michael is board certified in natural functional medicine by the American Association of Natural Wellness Practitioners. Over his 33 years of teaching, Michael has trained over 20,000 practitioners. Over 14 years, he was a faculty member at Tri-State College of Acupuncture, New York College of Traditional Chinese Medicine, New York Chiropractic College, Eastern School of Acupuncture and Traditional Medicine, and Southwest Acupuncture College. He's taught hundreds of professional continuing education seminars and spoken at dozens of natural healthcare colleges and conferences internationally. Michael co-founded Acupuncture for Veterans. And veterans, as you know from my previous programs, is a matter dear to my heart. And this Acupuncture for Veterans provided free treatments in New York City. He's past president of the Acupuncture Society of New York, earning awards for State Association and State Association President of the Year. He appeared on the CBS Early Show and NBC News, and his wellness radio show from 2009 to 2013 attracted over 100,000 subscribers. Michael is also a pianist and composer, which was his first career. And I'm hoping I can get him to play a spot of piano for us at the end of our conversation.
Happy to.
Through the accredited Gaeta Institute. Everyone please take a note of that. This will be in the show notes, but through the accredited Gaeta Institute for Holistic Health Education, Michael gives live and online trainings in holistic health and ethical and clinical and business success for practitioners. These include the Clinicians Mastermind Circle, a 1-year board certification program in natural functional medicine, the Autoimmune Mastery Program, Cancer Support and Prevention, the Cardiovascular Mastery Program, and the Herbal Schools. Since 2020, Michael has hosted the Mondays with Michael weekly podcast on natural health and health freedom. Michael Gaeta is also active nationally in promoting health choice and informed consent. Courses, patient health consultations, and treatment writings and other resources are all available at michaelgaeta.com. Well, Michael, as my normal process goes, when I'm speaking at the normal pace that I'm speaking, this is relevant for anyone watching this if you're doing a speech. When I'm speaking at this pace, I'm talking at 140 words a minute. And so your intro at 369 words worked out perfectly. So that's the pace that we're talking. So that's just by the by. It's a useful tool. And I've done that by recording speeches I do for an hour. And, in 60 minutes, I go for 8,400 words. And it's not too fast. I pause and then 8,400 words. That means in a normal book, I could read an audio book, a full book of 60,000 words in 7 hours, which is pretty good, really, isn't it?
It is. Well done.
So, Michael, the big question, I'll give you a heads up here. I'll give you a moment to think about your definition of health, because in my experience, and this show has had a big focus on health for the 240 plus episodes that have preceded this one. My definition of health is based on the Hungarian word for health. And the Hungarian word for health is egészség. And the Hungarian language, you might know, is particularly precise. Many of the
Yes.
world's top mathematicians are Hungarian, and the logic and the precision of the language is renowned. And
Yes.
the word egészség means wholeness, being whole.
Yes.
So to be healthy is to be whole. And so my definition of health, and I really want yours to perhaps inspire our viewers to go, I like that, because most people don't have a definition of health. And my definition of health is that health is the unique, optimal balance for you, unique, optimal balance of mental, physical, and spiritual elements.
Very nice.
So
I like it.
So if I'm way out of balance spiritually or mentally or physically, then I'm not whole.
Yes.
So in all of the lectures that you do, and what is your definition of health?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Charles. And I like yours for sure. I think I may borrow that. In Chinese medicine, we think of health, we think of illness as a habit or a habitual response to life. And this is one perspective, not the only one, but the one that I like. And health, therefore, is a spontaneous response to life and expression of life in the moment. So coming into the present, expressing the highest that one can in that moment, spontaneously in response to that moment, bringing something of a positive, creative spirit in that moment would be one definition of health, unhindered by habitual responses that many of us, myself included, tend to live from.
Very good. Very good. Habitual responses. I love it. My next question is this. You are an expert. Totally accept you are an expert in health and music like me. You're an expert in music. I am a long-time musician since 1967 when I first started playing the guitar. And I've played the double bass in jazz bands for 20 years and classical as well. But I haven't composed, but I have performed professionally. I've been paid for playing music on my double bass.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about music, my favorite definition of music that I borrowed from somebody else. That's the joy of having conversations because we learn from each other.
Yeah.
My favorite definition of music is that music is the language of the soul.
Beautiful.
And that really resonated with me because when I try to define this thing called music, it's quite difficult.
Right. It is.
Anyway, I love that. The music, language of the soul. So you and I are both musicians, and my mentor when I was a lawyer, he said to me the benefit of playing music, of learning and playing or practicing, either way, it doesn't matter whether you're learning it or you're practicing it, is that it's not possible to think of anything else whilst doing it.
Yes.
And therefore, if I go for a run, if I'm doing my triathlon training,
yes,
I can be thinking of all the crap in my life, but when I'm playing music, I can't. I have found that to be true.
Yes.
What's been your experience with what music gives to you?
Yeah, the same. I appreciate that, Charles. I have found myself doing a lot of mental work a lot of the time as a practitioner and teacher, and it's important for me to get back there at the Steinway every day or most every day, because I come out of my head and more into the body and the heart and the soul.
Language of the soul.
And I tell you, I really like that expression, Charles, which is, by the way, my middle name is Charles. And when I'm playing, if I start to think about other things, then I start, first of all, messing up, but also come out of the flow of the music or the expression of the soul that it's meant to be. I tell you, I was living in New York at the time, and I was listening to National Public Radio. The vocalist Bobby McFerrin was on, and I had a chance to ask him a question. It was late night radio, And I said, Bobby, I love your music. What's the most important quality or characteristic for a musician to have? And, this is a world-class, vocalist, hit maker with his Don't Worry, Be Happy and other music, played with Chick Corea, one of my heroes of the piano. And without hesitation, he said courage. And a few months later, I was sitting next to Stanley Drucker, legendary clarinetist with the New York Philharmonic, principal clarinetist, played all over the world, one of the greatest clarinetists of the last century. And we're sitting next to each other at this diner in Long Island after my piano teacher gave a concert with his wife, her co-director of the American Chamber Ensemble. Stanley sat in, showed up, played a piece on the clarinet with the ensemble. And I had to ask him the same question. Stanley, what's the most important quality for a musician to have? And he didn't hesitate. He said courage. Said the same thing that Bobby McFerrin said, because it takes courage to make the music your own. And this extends to all of life, all people, not non-musicians. Although Vladimir Horowitz's father said everyone's good at something in music, composing it, performing it, or listening to it. So we all have a musical connection. But it takes courage to make the music an expression of yourself, taking risks, trying stuff that may not work, infusing the music with your own being, with your own self, your own creativity, is what they were both saying. So I like that as a guidepost for all of us these days.
Well, I particularly like it because it ties into something else that I've been doing for over 33 years, the 33 years that you've been teaching and 36 years of clinical practice.
That's right.
And that's leadership. I run leadership programs, team building programs. I'm Australasia's passion provocateur. So
yes,
I'm going to explore your passion, as to why you left music, your professional music, to do the healing. And I have been a leader all my life in a whole bunch of ways, including prefect at school. And then at the age of 25, I became the president of the preeminent surf lifesaving club in Victoria, one of the top clubs in Australia. Like I was 25, I was leading 55-year-olds.
Wonderful.
And I got re-elected 4 times. So I was president for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So, and then through all of that leadership experience, it's my view that the number one characteristic of effective leaders is courage.
Oh, I love that.
And that sits nicely with being a musician, because the musician is up on the stage leading the audience to wherever they're going to go.
Yes, that's right.
So courage. So it is a rare commodity because the greatest courage, and this is what I admire about politicians, the greatest courage they need is the courage to face rejection.
Yes.
And as a musician, what you choose to play might be rejected.
Right. That's true.
So this question of living life on our own terms, I want to come back and explore that, because it seems to me, and I've done a lot of executive coaching over the years, that the fear of rejection and the fear of failure are two of the greatest blocks to people progressing. We are psychologically trained to fit in, and our parents train us, Michael, you have to fit in, because if you don't fit in, you'll be rejected, you'll be an outcast. And I suppose it makes sense, because no man is an island. We need people around us, and so we're terrified of rejection. And in fact, I've done shows on that topic, and it's a deep, deep, deep problem for many people. The big idea I want to explore with you that I think will be of great help to people watching this show is your perspective on the uniqueness of my body. Your perspective on the uniqueness of each person watching this conversation. Are we the same, to what extent are we the same? To what extent are we different? And I I really want to unpack that because we've got a serious problem in society. And I have said in my previous shows, we've got a serious problem with protocols and evidence-based medicine. So tell me, is my body the same as yours?
Ultimately, no. I mean, we have the macro. We're human beings, a blend of spirit and form, the eternal and the temporal, of human and being. So in the macro, we're the same in that regard. But we are each unique individual expressions of life. Just recently, we had our annual practitioner retreat here in Colorado, our 10th annual for health professionals. And we started our time sitting in a circle and introducing ourselves. And the attendees were invited to introduce themselves in this way, Charles. I am life appearing as, in my case, Michael. And then we go around and we come to Charles. Charles, you would say, I am life appearing as Charles. And it was a shift for people to realize that we're each unique expressions of life and to own that. Just as sunbeams emanate from the sun, each one's a bit different in its revelation and in its expression and what it illuminates. And each of us is a unique expression of the divine, as far as I'm concerned, that is here to illuminate the world, to bring light in our own unique way. And so I think, and your question was about the body, very much so. Again, we have macro oneness, right, in terms of a basic genetic makeup and physical makeup and the parts and so forth. But there is a load of individuality to us. And for example, we
I love that
are,
line,
yes,
Michael.
yes,
Just in case that stream of consciousness for you, a load of
yes,
individuality.
yes,
So keep going.
yes,
That's I
yes.
love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. So, for example, the latest in modern science related to the body is that we are microbial beings, right? 70 to 90% of all the cells in the human body are bacteria or
So
other microbes.
70, I want to get this number right. So it's between
Yeah,
70 to 90% are
yeah. There's
bacteria.
some debate about it, but
Yeah.
there are, and 99% of the human genome is stored in our gut bacteria, not in the sequenced genome of the Human Genome Project with the 22,000 or 23,000 genes. There's 100 times more than that, roughly, genetic material in our microbial reality, what we call the holobiont is a new term that's being used to describe. We're trying to come up with new words to describe this Copernican shift in perspective of what human beings are, at least physically. And our oneness with all of life on Earth is established by our microbial reality, which make up the most of, not by weight, it's only 3 to 4 pounds, but by cell count. So there's a
Mm.
lot to us which is unique. We each have a unique microbial reality. We have a unique, and this was spoken of decades ago when I was first studying in the 80s, in medicine and healthcare and natural health, our biochemical individuality. So that, I think what you might have been alluding to was that there isn't a cookbook, cookie cutter, one size fits all approach to health. And I think the way, as a practitioner, having seen, many thousands of patients over 36 years, I really encourage patients. I just had a conversation this week with a new patient who came in, and I really encouraged her to trust her intuition because she was saying, well, tell me what to do. And I said, well, I'll have suggestions, the way I'll suggest and you decide, but trust your intuition. If you have a feeling about something, then that's the wisdom of life, the wisdom of your being, whatever, I forgot how I put it, but it's your own internal wisdom speaking to you through your intuition, your hunches, your sensings about things, your so-called gut feeling. And we used to think of the gut as the second brain. Now we're thinking of it as maybe the first brain. But the mind itself is remarkable. And so when we get these hunches, sensings, intuitions, feelings about things, they shouldn't just be discounted and cast off. And I tell you, Charles, there's a big problem right now in modern healthcare where practitioners, mostly in the conventional medicine space, but also in my world of holistic healthcare, are treating test results, not people. And there's a big temptation to do that. Where had one, for example, had one patient come in. She saw a so-called integrative physician. She spent $5,000 on lab tests before the doctor would even see her, and she came in at long last, months later, with all these test results for her initial visit. The big day had come, and the doctor maybe looked up once in the entire visit, was just looking at all these test results and flipping through pages, not connecting with another human being, understanding their experience, their narrative, their story. She was simply looking at numbers on a page and coming up with things to intervene to address those numbers on the page, and not really establishing that sacred rapport with this other person that had come to them for help. So this whole idea, it can extend into many areas. But the latest, I'm very excited that modern science, medicine, understanding of the body is coming around to the primacy of the heart as a vortex, not a pump in the chest, but a vortex where spirit, life, eternal being, universal cosmic intelligence, whatever you want to call it, connects with the body in the heart. The heart is, in Chinese medicine, is the same word for mind. Xin is heart and mind in Chinese medicine. So in Chinese medicine, health, to come full circle to your first question, from this perspective, is living from the knowing in the heart, not just feelings. Feelings are clouds; they come and go. But connecting with and coming from the highest truth in one's heart, and not just superficial feeling. I want to be clear about that. Follow your heart has led a lot of people to do a lot of stupid things. But the highest truth in oneself, and so that the mind and heart become unified, so that the mind, our cognitive capacity, serves that eternal higher reality that resides in the heart, kind of heaven within, is the Chinese medicine perspective on the heart.
Heaven, the heart is heaven within. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yeah.
Now here's a question that many people will ask. How do I know, Michael, if it's my intuition or my fear or my wish?
Yeah. Great question, Charles. That's great. What I have found for myself, and in working with people over the years, is to sense what's happening in the chest. It takes being a little bit quiet and listening a bit. But when I get a rising feeling in the chest, a yes feeling in the chest, that's not just a superficial emotion. That's something of an intuitive confirmation. But what you pointed out is so important, that a lot of us make decisions and make life choices and live daily from a place of fear. And this is not helpful. And it takes a little bit of self-awareness, as you know, in your executive coaching and so forth, that it takes a little self-awareness to ask and listen inside for what is the right thing to do, to our highest current conception, whatever that is, and that's going to evolve. But at the moment, what is the highest truth in my heart that I know of right now? Again, not superficial feeling. I feel good, I feel bad, I feel sad, I feel mad. This is not that level of things. But to inquire, am I acting from fear? to avoid a bad outcome, for example, or separate myself from something uncomfortable. When the commitment is to be our own unique revelation of the divine in the world, that's, so our purpose is, human being, for the being to express through the human, then we're congruent, as we would say, and as the heart math folks say, living in congruence, which is a state of being, as I'm sure some of the folks you coach will say, they're in the zone. They're in that just place of relaxed alertness, of calm awareness, very sharp, focused stillness that allows them to be very effective in what they're doing. And that's different than, as you pointed out, making decisions from fear. And so that takes a bit of awareness. That's not an automatic thing, because we've learned in that way. We've learned through life, many of us, to make decisions out of fear. So that, it's just a different muscle to build to sense what is our highest knowing in that moment of what to do. It's usually the uncomfortable thing, honestly. And that's another hint, is that if we're doing the comfortable, known, habitual thing.
The uncomfortable thing, that's right.
Yeah, I learned this from my brother years ago. He owned a health club, and he really did it right. He really was very focused on serving the people, of a service, contribution, servant leadership perspective. And he was a health club owner, but he came from that place. And he said, remember, do the difficult thing, because it's usually the right thing. And if we're guided by comfort, if we're guided by fear, if we're guided by habit, well, this is how I did it yesterday, this is how I've done it my whole life, that's not ideal. We're going to have untapped potential for service, contribution, radiance, and blessing through our lives if we live in that way. And this is all about your original question of health, is ultimately health is the spontaneous expression of being in the moment through the human, through our thoughts, words, actions, that we bring something of a positive, creative energy of spirit into our world, so that when our head hits the pillow at night, the world is at least a little bit better because we were here.
So this problem of health and how doctors behave, and as you know, I have moderated 500 meetings over the course of the last 5 years.
Wow.
For medical doctors for COVID Ethics International.
Well done.
And 80% of doctors I have zero respect for in one part of their lives. So here's part of the problem, that doctors are both angels and demons. They are angels in treating traumatic injury.
Yes, good point.
They are angels, and the rest of the time they're demons, because they do not understand health. They're not trained in health.
Right.
And it's for you're in America, I'm in Australia.
Yes.
And I want to impress on everybody watching this conversation to take a deep, deep, hard look at this question of, am I getting good health advice? And coming back to intuition, and I would like your suggestions, and I'll give you a warm up to think about this. Suggestion on practices to help people identify what is going on inside their body. And one of those practices, so what do I mean by that? I mean, I advise my clients, when I'm talking in a seminar or individual coaching, I advise people to collect every single piece of health records that they've got and put them into a folder and have a look at them.
Sure.
Right. So this conscious awareness, we use the word awareness, and Stanford Graduate School of Business says that they say the number one characteristic of great leaders is self-awareness. So from our health, I want to drive this health awareness, and so I'm interested in your views on, okay, I want to increase my awareness, my intuition, it's a stillness. Charles says, collect my physical records and put them
Hmm.
all into a folder. What would
Hmm.
you say to somebody? Give me something tangible to do, Michael, to start to think about this magnificent body that we've got.
Yeah, wonderful. First thing, I think it's important to start with an appreciation, thankfulness, gratitude for what is working, for what is right. I had a new patient came in with a
Mm.
laundry list of problems, very complex case, we would say. And, I'm carefully taking notes, pages and pages of notes, all the problems she has, all the practitioners, all the doctors she's seen. I'm her last resort, that sort of thing. And I said, did I get everything? She said, no, there's more. This went on for about half hour. Here's everything wrong. And I said, is there anything else? She said, no, I think that's everything. And understandably, she was pretty deflated after talking about all these things that were wrong. And that's the medical model: diagnose and treat. Identify what's wrong, go attack and manage the symptoms of what's wrong. And I said, well, tell me about what's right with you, what's working with you, what's right with you in your life. And she's stunned. She had nobody's ever asked me that. I've had all these health problems for 25 years. Nobody's asked me that question. I've seen dozens of practitioners. Nobody's asked me what's right with me. And that's what I asked her. Because in holistic health, we start with what's right and build on that. In reductionist medicine, it's diagnose and treat. Start with what's wrong and go attack that. So that's a good place to start. The second place to go is to have a model of health, not as the absence of symptoms, but the presence of well-being, vitality, joy, peace, wholeness, as you said beautifully. So it's the presence of something, right,
So,
not the absence
and
of
as you're
what's
saying
wrong.
this, as you're
Yeah.
saying this, I would say to people, write this down. Have a list.
Yes.
Have a diary.
Yes.
I've got a
Yes.
number of diaries. I'm sure you have,
Yes.
and I've got different small these books here, this
Yes.
size for different.
Yes.
So write this down. So what's right with you? Secondly, the presence of well-being.
Yeah. What do you go? Yeah. So it's just more of a perspective that health is the presence of well-being, vitality,
Mm.
wholeness, purpose, joy, sense of connection. But then this is, I'm sure you've taught your clients, Stephen Covey habit 2, begin with the end in mind. So, and I like to ask patients, like if we, particularly a new patient, if we were totally successful, how would we know? Right? If everything you came here for happened, how would we know? What would it look like? What would it feel like? What would be the evidences? Like, what are we going for? And to have clarity about that, right? Because a lot of times folks just sort of stumble from visit to visit or day to day, and they don't have a clear idea of what they want their health to look like and why. And one of my favorite questions, Charles, is who else will benefit other than you if that happens? So I had a woman come in. She just diagnosed with colon cancer, and she needed surgery, and she wanted a holistic approach to prevent. And I said, well, I'm going to be asking you to do some things so you can get where you want to go, which is prevent a recurrence of cancer and recover from the surgery and whatever else. I said, I'm going to be asking you to take supplements, herbs, change your diet, exercise, have a journal, get some sun exposure, connect with your friends, be with positive, supportive people. Who else will benefit other than you if you are able to beat this cancer thing, as she said? Those are her words. And she said, my granddaughter. I have a little granddaughter, and I want to be there for her as she grows up and be at her wedding. I'm like, great. That's fabulous. Because now every time I ask her to do something, take these herbs, for example, she's thinking about, I'm doing this for my granddaughter, not just me. And we each have an innate desire. We each have an innate ability, desire, capacity. We're kind of wired for service and contribution, right? This is why people will spend all kinds of money they may not have on their pet,
Mm.
but may neglect their own diet, health, well-being, whatever it is,
Yeah,
but they'll
that's a
do
great
whatever
example.
to take care of the and I love animals. I have a little dog, I'm really into animals and pets, but it's amazing how it's like spare no expense if it's taking care of, little Spot there, the dog, which I'm all for, but they'll often neglect themselves. But anyway, have a clear aim. Like, what are you going for in your health journey?
Well,
And to
that's
know,
very,
yeah,
and
yeah,
diarize all of these steps, because there's the
I
gradualism
think
that
so.
happens as well.
I
You
think
know, that
so.
a month down the track, with
Yes.
under your care, this person could be dramatically better, but they've forgotten how bad they felt a month ago.
Right, right. Yeah, my job is to carefully record the baseline. Because then, like you said, a month later, oh, how's your lower back? Oh, I haven't thought about it. I guess it hasn't bothered. They forgot because it was gone, right?
Mm, yep.
And so that's interesting. And then, so think of who else will benefit if you get better.
Hmm.
Know that the purpose of health is not just to be healthy, but to be radiant, to be a greater blessing to others, to be a more positive contribution or positive presence in the lives of others. And finally, last thing, Charles, on this is don't see symptoms as the enemy. Oh, I have high blood pressure. Oh, I have neck pain. Oh, I have colitis. Oh, I have asthma. But to see those downstream manifestations of symptoms as teachers, it's life asking you to pay attention to something that you haven't paid attention to, right? For example, I had a patient who had neck pain, and so we just inquiring, and this is many years ago before we had like headsets and AirPods and all this. And they were just spending their day with the old style wired phone, at their desk with their head like this, right? So, and not surprisingly, they had all this neck pain. And so maybe that's asking you to pay attention to something like your posture. Get a headset so you're not like this all day for hours at your desk. And it's just a simple example, but it goes beyond that to see symptoms as teachers that are encouraging us to pay attention to something that we've neglected. Could be our diet, our lifestyle, our relationships, our exercise, getting fresh air and sunlight, our sleep. It could be a variety of things, but that's where seeing symptoms as teachers, encouraging awareness, going back to awareness, is a much better model than evil things to be suppressed and taken away. Right. For example, if you have a pebble in your shoe, and you go to the doctor, and this is a simplification. Hey doc, my foot hurts. Oh, no problem. Here's a painkiller. It'll take away the pain in your foot, right? So you take a
Mm.
painkiller, your foot doesn't feel the pebble is still there. And so then they come to somebody like me, practicing more holistically. Root cause resolution is really important. My job is to get the pebble out of your shoe, and then you don't need to manage that symptom every day with a drug. And that's our whole school, our whole clinic is under that whole mindset of nature first, drugs last. Again, drugs aren't bad. They're just massively overused. And there's a natural solution at least 95% of the time minimum for anything anyone might be taking a prescription drug for.
Very good. I've taken detailed notes of that, and that is a great lineup of steps to take for people to raise their awareness. Next question. I want you to be as
Yeah,
provocative as you like here. You
I'm
don't have to
happy
say
to.
fuck, but I am
I won't.
interested. I won't. I am interested in talking about the topic that no one wants to talk about, and that's a great sex life.
Yes, very important.
So the question I was going to say was, how important is a great sex life? And
I think it's
secondly, the
yeah.
data in Australia is that 50% of men over 50 have erectile problems.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, and that's in the U.S. as well, and this is either due to there's three issues. One are emotional factors because testosterone and most people aren't aware of this, and even many of my students who are practitioners kind of forgot this, that whether if they learned it in school, that testosterone is a parasympathetic hormone, meaning it's not part of the stress response, fight or flight. It's part of the parasympathetic response, which is rest, relax, digest, repair, detoxify, and drop into sexual connection. So if you're stressed and afraid and fearful and worried all the time, it's very difficult for your body to even make testosterone. Then, so that's one layer, is chronic stress. The other layer is endocrine problems. And the amount of chemicals that we're exposed to really mess up our hormonal, or what we call endocrine system. And so that's a big problem. And most people have bought into this nonsense for the last 60 years of a low fat, low cholesterol, avoid saturated fat diet, which is catastrophic for one's sex hormone production. I've done a pretty deep dive on the research. I have a course on this on men's health in the school, that all the research is very consistent that male androgen levels, so these are things like DHEA and testosterone, there are 5 of them, these are increased the more we consume of ideally healthy, quality, organic type saturated fat. And these hormones are all made out of cholesterol. So there's a side problem there of this iatrogenic, or caused by the disease, of this catastrophe of the cholesterol hypothesis. That cholesterol is bad, don't eat it, we got to get the blood levels down as low as possible, it'll kill you. All of that is nonsense. But we have a lot of people, tens of millions, taking drugs
I have
to
to let
lower
you
your
in
cholesterol.
that low cholesterol, the provision of the sale of statin drugs, I think is the number 2 or number 1 biggest selling drug in the world. Now, I got onto this, Michael, back in 1987, 88. I was competing in triathlons. I still do. So 1985, I did my first triathlon.
Nice.
And I read an article, and I was involved with alternative health since 1965 when I was 13.
Yes.
So I'm now 73. And I read this article in Runner's World.
You look great for 73, man.
Thank you. And Julie, my wife, says that as well. And that's the reward for looking after ourselves, isn't it? We don't age. And this article in Runner's World talked about the profound negative personality impact of changing your natural cholesterol levels. Yes. And I have everything I've read ever since. I've got loads of articles in my computer about what a disaster this has been and what a scam it has been. And
total scam.
Everyone, please understand this. Get off the statin drugs.
I call it the statin scam.
The statin scam.
And I'm of Italian descent, and we have a slang word in Italian called stunat, which means stupid or impaired cognition, I guess. And statin, the word statin is very similar to the word stunat. And statins make you stunat. Or you could flip it around and say it's you're stunad if you're taking statins. We now have 20, 30 years of research confirming these drugs do a lot more harm than good. Whatever minor good they might do is vastly outweighed by the impaired memory, sex function, libido, nerve damage, muscle damage, diabetes risk,
and brain damage.
That's what I'm saying, brain damage.
Yeah.
The brain is made significantly of cholesterol. And the brain is one of the 3 major sites of production of cholesterol. And they really had to hoodwink the population, Charles, to convince people that something that every animal cell in every animal species produces, cholesterol, is somehow bad.
Here's my key question on it. How, if I'm healthy, if a man is healthy, on our definition, and we've been exploring that.
Yep.
In your considered view, based on all the learning that you've had, up until what age can a man do the most important role of having lots of fucking?
Yeah.
How long?
I don't think.
What age? No limit.
Well, I don't think it's a lot older than we would think. And I think this should be part of lifelong health. And with age, perhaps it's a little less frequent, perhaps, but still very present and very much a part of a vital life. To have a deep connection with a partner that you connect with and that there's love present and you enjoy this sexual connection to the fulfillment and well-being and upliftment of both partners, and to go spiritual a little bit, to those that they're connected with, right? Because as we experience an upliftment ourselves in whatever way, could be from playing music or, helping a friend or sexual union, the heart connections we have with others are blessed by that radiant expression from ourselves. So there's a way to use life in general as an act of service. And this, at least in a certain perspective, can even extend into the sexual union. So I think it's a very important part.
The brilliance, and not much talk about it. In fact, I've been toying with the idea of really being very provocative and running serious programs on having a great sex life.
Sure.
And so the beauty of the term, instead of being the crude word of fucking, which is a useful term, of making love. Now, when you think about it, making love, what a wonderful thing to do. Make love.
Yes.
In other words, generating love, this radiance that you're talking about, of them being able to be of benefit to others. Now, turning to the women's side, I interviewed for one of my book that hasn't yet been published, one of my books, a doctor called Lorraine Dennerstein, who in the late 60s was the first women's sexual health doctor in Australia.
Interesting.
And she's globally renowned. You might like to, in fact, that might be interesting if I linked you up with her. But Lorraine,
please do.
She said something profoundly important in the book. She said, the more fucking that women do, the less problem is menopause.
No, very good. That makes sense.
Okay?
That makes sense. Yep.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah,
and she said this whole issue, and it was such a brilliant idea, that if women start to, and then the question is, and I bring it to your attention. We might unpack it in another conversation. I ask men, how do you know you're good at making love?
Oh yeah, that's easy. Yeah, I mean,
I don't want you to answer it.
No, I'm happy to. No, I mean, I talk about this. If you can bring pleasure, satisfaction, completion, fulfillment, upliftment to your partner, which is definitely part of my goal, then I know I've done a good job.
Beautiful. That is a magnificent definition, Michael. I love it. I ask men in Australia, you know what their number one answer, you guess what, probably in America as well.
I don't know.
What is their number one answer of most men?
I'm not sure.
I don't get any complaints.
Oh.
And
well,
then
we can aim a little higher than that.
Well, that's the test. I must be good because there are no complaints. And Lorraine Dennerstein and Diane McCann Matthews, who has been teaching Tantra for some 30 years, she says girls are taught as teenagers to not complain that the man is not doing it well. So this test of no complaints is a bad test. I love your test. Thank you for sharing it.
I agree completely. In Chinese medicine, we have this concept of yin and yang, and one definition of health is the interplay, the union of yin and yang is an expression of health. And this happens in the bedroom and in healthy relationships in general. There has to be a healthy polarity between the two folks in the couple. And it doesn't matter what kind of couple it is. Someone has to hold the masculine principle, which is very vital, and someone has to hold the feminine principle, which is equally vital. And it doesn't work, and I know this from experience, when you have two partners who are both holding primarily the masculine energy. That's not going to work. Similarly, two who both partners are holding a polarity of feminine energy, that's not a polarity. And again, these relationships don't work, period, unless each partner can hold. And I'm not saying who should do what, but there's a traditional working out of this, of the male holding the masculine principle and the female holding the feminine principle. But this applies to all relationships of any kind, any romantic partner unions. It doesn't matter who's involved. In those two people, one of them really must step into, embody, express, hold space in the masculine, and the other in the feminine. Otherwise, you've got a conflict-ridden, flat, lifeless, milquetoast, lukewarm, passionless relationship, and it just doesn't work. And so that is expressed in part in the bedroom, so that there's one partner is in a receptive place, one partner is in an active, more different space, and that's really important.
Do you think? No, I'll ask you. Do you think I should go out and run seminars on how to have a great sex life? I'm toying with this idea.
You'd have a waiting list.
Yeah, I think I'm toying with the idea. Now we're going to do two more things. The second thing is you're going to play some music for our viewers, and I'd love you to feel about that. Anything from 1 minute to 4 minutes, and we'll get people into this soulful space. The question before that is, I want your intuitive answer to this question,
please.
Barring traumatic accidents, how old are you going to be when you die?
Well, we have our stats of, if born today, what is your life expectancy? With men in the U.S., it's dropped 6 years, which is insane. We used to be within about 6 months of the ladies, women for decades living around 6 months longer. Now men are living about 6 years less than women is life expectancy today. So that's not good. And it's starting to heal up a little bit. It's starting to improve from this really bad, shift. But I hate to place limits on what's possible. And I also am at least as attentive to health span as lifespan, right? So health span is the life in your years. How many good, vital, Charles Kovess quality years do you have, right? Vital, strong, resilient, cognitively sharp, sexually active, whatever. How many good years do you have? That's health span. Mm-hmm. Compared to lifespan is the years in your life. How long until you become room temperature?
My goal is to make that the same. My goal,
right,
you've seen that quote, my goal is to go skiing out of life and to be living at the same pace when I die. So yes. Come on, give me the number that you're planning to go, yep, that's how I'm going to go for till.
I'm aiming for the Chinese medicine ideal, which was achieved by the Yellow Emperor historically, of 100 years.
Beautiful. Let me tell you what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
And I've just turned 73.
Yep.
I was born in 52. Sorry, I turned 73 last year. I was born in 1952. I graduated from Melbourne University Law School in 1973 when I was 21.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So 1973, I'm now 73. I was born in 52. I had a view of living till at least 120. Then my children said, one of whom is a biomedical scientist, he said, Dad, I think you have to change your views because there's now predicting that's going to be quite achievable to live to 120. Mm-hmm. And I said, so my plan now, Michael, and I'm genuine about this, is to work till I'm 125. And that, interestingly, when I made this decision, this was late last year, and that was 52 years, from 73 to 125, 52 years. So I'm born in
Oh,
52. I've worked
wow.
for 52 years since I graduated. And so literally at 73, I'm halfway through my work career.
Oh, excellent. I
And
love that.
so,
That
and
is very
therefore, what
achievable.
that means is I never say I'm too old to learn this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
Michael, I love that lifespan, health span. My game plan is to make that the same, and
Ideally. That's
and
great. A
and
good
I
goal.
accept. What's that quote that goes that says, live your life as if you're going to live forever, but that you might die tomorrow."
Hmm.
There's a quote that
Yes.
not precisely like that, but I'm open to dying tomorrow, and I'm
Yes.
planning. That's right. Be open to live your life as if you're going to die tomorrow, but plan as if you're going to live forever.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite books by Stephen Levine, who's a Buddhist meditation teacher, clinical psychologist. One of my favorite books of his is A Year to Live, How to Live This Year as If It Were Your Last. And it's not a morbid book about dying. It's a hopeful book about living in alignment with your highest purpose. And that's what I aspire to, is to not die with my music still within me, so to speak, but to as who was the teacher? I think it was Bernie Siegel who I interviewed for our school. To not be burned out, but burned up, fully used at
That's
the end
it.
of my life in service to humanity and to the divine.
Mm. Love it. Great way to finish. Many other questions I have, but we've been going for almost an
Well,
hour. I would
we'll
now
do another
like
show.
I think we need to, because I really
Yeah.
do want to unpack. I really do think I want to have a specific conversation around the need for a great sex life.
Yeah.
I think there's
I'm
not
with you.
enough conversation around that.
I'm with you.
All right. Can we have a piece of closing music, Michael? Thank you
Sure,
so much
sure.
for being with
You
us.
bet. Yep, happy to. And
Okay.
I'll play. I'll play. How about an original? Something I
Yep.
wrote, and this is called "Walking Home." And you'll hear. How was that?
That worked very well. It was clear sound, and
Oh, great.
congratulations on the
Yay,
composition. Lovely,
Riverside.
wonderful to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you. We'll
we
have to
will
make
have another.
music sometime, Charles.
We will. I'll bring. We'll hire a double bass. I'll come over to Colorado
That's right.
because I don't have a Steinway in my backyard, and
That's okay.
we can do it that way. And all we need is a
Well,
drummer, and then we'll have a good
yes,
three-piece jazz trio.
that's
Well,
great. And folks who are
congratulations.
interested,
Yep.
yeah, they can just go to michaelgaeta.com. We have our school, our clinic. We have folks, patients around the world work with through phone and video. We have online courses, 70 courses right now. And anybody who's interested in that nature first, drugs last philosophy, we can help you either here at the school with education or with the clinic with individual consultation.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We will do it again very shortly.